Samuel, please pray for my daughter, Katrina. I heard my mother begging our pastors to deliver me from nymphomania. My name is Katrina. I am 19 years old. I have excessive love for intimacy. I had it wherever I went to. I couldn't stay a day without it. Sometimes I usually had erotic dreams. My innocent mother believed that I was cursed and needed deliverance. I did it with my classroom teacher, our school gateman, and even the school principal when I was still in secondary school. Some of my mates usually laughed at me and made fun of me, but I didn't feel embarrassed a bit about it because within me, I know I loved getting intimate. I got admission into the university, and this made my mother to be more worried as she felt I may get intimate with all the boys in my department. She took me to our church, Lord Divine Mercy, to see our pastor. Our pastor's name was Pastor Emmanuel. He is married and in his early 30s. Rich and very handsome. I had already visioned being intimate with him before my mother brought me to him. I know I am a lady, but I could assure you that I can strip a man off his clothes by barely looking at him. My mother feels like I am cursed. Meanwhile, I know that I am okay. As a young girl, I was sexually indoors, and since then, my life had only taken a bad turn. That day, my mother took me to church for Pastor Samuel to perform deliverance on me. I wore a very revealing dress, showcasing my natural gift from God. When Pastor Samuel saw my mother and I approaching from afar, he was shocked by my revealing dress, and just from a glance, I could detect that he was charmed already. I bit my upper lip seductively and gave him a flirty wink. "Oh, daughter of Jezebel," he muttered, referring to me. "Pastor Samuel, please deliver my daughter," my mother pleaded with him. He hummed, closing his eyes and eventually opening one to take a proper look at my erotic body. Couldn't detect anything as she was already carried by the Holy Spirit. She closed her eyes tightly as she was in the spirit and already manifesting. Pastor Samuel began praying as he hummed frequently. Pastor Samuel was obviously fake. Even a blind can tell, but my mother was already carried away by his fake testimonies and miracles. "She is possessed," he said to my mother, who was already in tears and in serious prayers. "Pastor Samuel, please, what do I do? Let me take her into my office for one-on-one counseling section," he recommended, and my mother signaled me to join him immediately. I reluctantly went inside with him. He started again with his fake prayers. He touched my boobs and proceeded to touch my lower region when I stopped him. "Pastor Samuel, what are you doing? Is this how you pray for your members?" I asked him. "Shh." He hushed, trying to calm me down. He stopped touching me and continued praying on top of his voice to avoid my mother's suspicion. After the prayer was over, he left me out of his office. "Pastor," my mother called as he approached us. "Is she fine now?" she naively asked. "No, I will recommend she sleeps in the church for 3 good days. I will keep a watch over her. The devil in her has eaten too deep into her, and she will need the 3 days for deliverance." My mother, being a very religious person, agreed to our pastor's request. I tried explaining to her that Pastor Samuel isn't who she thinks he is, but she didn't listen to me. She picked up her bag and left me in church with Pastor Samuel. I felt really sad as my mother left me to my disadvantage because of Pastor Samuel. That night, Pastor Samuel didn't return home. He was still in the church with me, and the church door was locked. Exactly at 3 a.m. in the morning, I felt a very cold hand creeping into my dress. I knew it was Pastor Samuel, and I didn't move an inch because I wanted it to. We made love that night in front of the altar. This kept on happening for the 3 days that I stayed at the church. 4th day, my mother came to take me home. She noticed that I was actively happy, and she thought that Pastor Samuel's miracle had already started working on me. Before I left the church, Pastor Samuel asked for my contacts. "Give me your phone number. I want to keep in touch with you," he said. "No," I replied him. My mother gave me a very serious look, signaling me to give my number to Pastor Samuel. "Give him your number so that he will be sending you Bible verses and prayer points to embark on," my mother advised. I reluctantly dialed my phone number for him. We returned home that evening, and my mother kept pressurizing me to tell her how my 3 days indoor prayers with Pastor Samuel went. I lied to her that we did all-night fasting and prayers, and she seemed a little bit convinced by what I told her. I knew that Pastor Samuel had interest in me when he started calling me at odd hours. He would call at 10 p.m. talking about nothing meaningful except saying he was checking up on me. I wanted to be sure you didn't go and sleep next to your boyfriend, he said. Sometimes when I feel like talking, I would engage him. Pastor, you know I don't have a boyfriend now. How can I sleep beside someone I don't have? I would answer back. He would tell me to be careful about men and also wait patiently before I choose. Sometimes it wasn't just always talk. He knew my condition and wanted to take advantage of it. I remember our second encounter very clearly and how happy it made me. It was right after church when he told me to wait for him. I was seated in church while people went to his office and came back. Later, he called me in. Immediately after I got there, he handed me a white envelope. I was surprised and didn't know what to say. Pastor Samuel, what is this for? I asked naively. You just gained admission into the university. You will be needing it. He smiled as he handed the envelope to me. I kept a straight face, but within me, I was very excited. Someone just gave it to me. I don't know how much is inside, he added. I knew that he was doing this to make me silent about what he did in his church during the 3 days fasting period I stayed with him. I got home and opened the envelope and it had dollars and a prayer request inside. It was from a woman who was having issues to conceive, so she needed prayers. I took a photo of the paper and sent it to him. I felt a little bit of guilt, but I managed to take it off my mind. The